An enigmatic and esteemed figure from the realm of high society has chosen to speak out about her time as a royal maid, despite being 67 years old. Those who work for the monarchy have been sworn to secrecy for decades, and no matter what they see within the palace gates, they are obligated to protect the privacy of the Queen and her family. We may need to reevaluate our assumptions about Queen Elizabeth II and the world she oversaw in light of new information that this woman has come out with after years of being silent. What finally prompted her to speak up? Is there anything the public doesn't know about the Queen's character, the inner workings of the palace, or the private lives of the royal family? She is cautious not to reveal too much, but her story does hint to a side of the monarchy that is never seen. One that may contain debate, unexpected displays of vulnerability, and unexpected tension. She could not have chosen a more opportune moment to speak, as the monarchy is under increasing scrutiny in an evolving world. In light of these new facts, what does Queen Elizabeth II's legacy look like? What will the royal family do in response to this exclusive look? With your continued support, we will delve into this intriguing and contentious first-hand story. The broadcast coronation of Queen Elizabeth II, her time as a princess during the war, and the royal controversies surrounding Brexit, all while leaving an enduring historic impression. Over the course of her almost century-long reign, Queen Elizabeth II oversaw the gradual evolution of the British monarchy, as well as significant historical moments, personal struggles, and transformations. A London, England native, Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor came into this world on April 21, 1926. Nobody saw her ascending to the throne coming. As a young princess, she had a long line of potential successors in the royal family. But in December 1936, her uncle King Edward VIII abdicated in favor of Mary Wallis Simpson, a divorcee from the United States, and the whole situation shifted. As a result of this historic choice, Elizabeth became the presumed heir and queen-in-waiting, and her father, George VI, became king. During the gloomy days of World War II, Elizabeth won over the British audience at the tender age of 13 by hosting a radio program for children. A connection was formed between the little princess and the people she would eventually govern, and her early sense of duty was demonstrated in that moment. She began a union that would endure for more than 7 decades in November 1947 when she wed Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. After her father, King George VI, died on February 6, 1952, at the tender age of 25, Elizabeth came to the throne. Her coronation, which took place on June 2, 1953, was a historic event because it was the first of its kind to be televised, enabling millions of people all over the globe to see this momentous occasion. This strengthened her relationship with the people and brought the monarchy into the modern era. Queen Elizabeth II oversaw a time of great transformation for the British Empire in the 1950s and 1960s. During her rule, numerous African and Caribbean nations achieved independence, a process known as decolonization. As monarch, she had the difficult task of juggling tradition with the facts of a world that was changing at a dizzying pace. Her Silver Jubilee, which marked 25 years as queen, was celebrated in 1977 and was a national holiday in the UK and Commonwealth. In the 1980s, additional difficulties emerged. Her son Prince Charles's 1981 marriage to Lady Diana Spencer was a media sensation all across the globe. Even though Diana's marriage to Charles was difficult, she became a revered figure very fast. The private problems of the royal family, which were frequently exposed to the public, started to make the Queen's rule more difficult. Annus Horribilis, meaning horrible year, was the moniker given to the year by Queen Elizabeth in 1992. The royal family's reputation took a hit due to a string of scandals that swept across the year. In addition to the tragic fire that destroyed Windsor Castle, the events put the monarchy to the test and put the Queen under intense public scrutiny. The tragic death of Princess Diana in a vehicle accident in 1997 was a blow to society. Many felt the royal family was too distant and slow to respond to the nation's profound grief. The public's reaction was significant because it prompted the Queen and her family to adjust to the changing demands of modern times. Her sister, Princess Margaret, and mother, the Queen Mother, both passed away in 2002, which was a difficult year for her personally. In spite of all this, the Queen's popularity skyrocketed in the years that followed. She was able to keep her record-high approval ratings by 2007 because to her openness to new media. Her willingness to embrace change, even as she maintained the crown's dignity, was steadily increasing. In 2012, the Diamond Jubilee commemorated 60 years of reign. The United Kingdom and the Commonwealth rejoiced with great pomp and circumstance at this exceptional and unusual feat, She was the first British monarch to visit Ireland in 100 years when she did so in 2015. Britain and Ireland have been apart for a long time, but this visit represented an effort to mend those fences. Nonetheless, she was surrounded by a political landscape that was always changing. The UK experienced severe political upheaval following the 2016 Brexit vote. Despite remaining impartial from a constitutional standpoint, the Queen's reign was unavoidably impacted by the discord and uncertainty generated by Brexit. Another royal wedding that captivated the world in 2018 was Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's nuptials. Racism, media meddling, and the monarchy's continuous drive for modernity were all thrust into the limelight by this coupling, which added fresh dynamics to the royal family. Conflicts between conventional wisdom and modern ideals were brought to light by the couple's encounters with the media and the establishment. Once again, the monarchy's adaptability was put to the test in 2020 by the pandemic. During the crisis, Queen Elizabeth spoke to the nation via television to reassure the people and show leadership. Reflecting the unique global scenario, her public engagements transitioned to remote modes. Prince Philip's death in 2021 was one of the most devastating personal tragedies for Queen Elizabeth. He had been married to the monarch for 73 years. During her rule, their alliance had been a rock of stability. The controversies surrounding Princess Diana's death and the 1992 Annus Horribilis were managed by Queen Elizabeth II. As we wind down this extraordinary account of Queen Elizabeth II's life and reign, we must not forget the scandals and disputes that plagued her reign, times when her authority was challenged and the public's perception of the monarchy was shaken. Queen Elizabeth's reign, despite her lengthy service and devotion, was not devoid of major difficulties, especially during the royal family's darkest hours in the 1990s. This long period of time revealed the institution's frailties and called for a fresh approach from a centuries-old monarchy that was trying to adapt to a world that was changing at a breakneck pace. The way the royal family dealt with the terrible loss of Princess Diana in 1997 was one of the most defining scandals of Queen Elizabeth's reign. One of the most adored members of the royal family was Diana, Princess of Wales. She was a global celebrity known for her kindness and generosity, and the news of her untimely death in a Paris car crash shocked people all over the world. Everyone was shocked and appalled. Countless people expressed their profound sorrow and held vigils in her honor. However, the initial reaction of the royal family was perceived by many as aloof, formal, and chilly, especially in the midst of this national mourning. After Diana's death, Buckingham Palace was mostly silent for a few days. A lot of people thought the monarchy wasn't caring about the people's suffering because of how quiet they were. The royal family came under fire from the British public and media for what they perceived as a callous and distant response. Tradition dictated that members of the royal household should not show their emotions in public. Such restraint, however, backfired at this time of communal grief. It didn't seem to be in step with today's culture, which values compassion and transparency, particularly when tragedy strikes. Queen Elizabeth II broke her customary reserve to address the people directly in a rare televised speech in response to the fast and intense opposition. She paid honor to Diana's memories in this speech by expressing her own grief and praising Diana's humanitarian endeavors. The monarchy's public relations took a dramatic swing with this speech. It demonstrated an eagerness to address the intensity of public sentiment and establish a more personal connection with the British people. A sliver of public support for the monarchy was restored after the Queen's broadcast speech helped defuse the situation. This incident revealed deeper problems with the royal family's interaction with the people and media beyond the immediate reaction to Diana's death. The royal family was under continual strain due to the relentless media coverage that Diana endured throughout her lifetime, demonstrating conflicts between satisfying public interest and protecting individual privacy. Tragically, Diana's death brought to a close the years-long dispute surrounding her battles with the royal family and the media. The delayed reaction time of the monarchy demonstrated how outdated protocols may not always work in today's media landscape. Even after Princess Diana's untimely death, the scandals of the 1990s continued apace. The year 1992 was called an Annus Horribilis, which means horrible year in Latin, by Queen Elizabeth herself. This expression encapsulated the many scandals and defeats that the royal family suffered at that time, drawing attention to a time of unpredictability and bad press that eroded public trust. Prince Charles's and Princess Diana's divorce was a major point of contention. The couple's private problems were extensively exposed by the media, and word of their split had spread. It became an embarrassing spectacle for the monarchy as secrets of infidelity, marital strife, and personal misery were exposed. Normally a paragon of stability and harmony, the royal family looked fragile and broken. The Queen's second son, Prince Andrew, was also having marital problems, which only served to heighten the public's belief that the royal family was in disarray. The media's fixation on these private matters only served to further damage the monarchy's image in the eyes of the people. The sensational headlines threatened the long-established dignity and respect of the royal family, as their private lives were no longer hidden from public view. A terrible fire at Windsor Castle, the official residence of the Queen and a symbol of the monarchy, added insult to injury in 1992. A huge restoration effort was necessary due to the fire's considerable destruction. As a fire that reflected the institution's metaphorical crisis, the catastrophe came to represent the difficulties encountered by the royal family. The Windsor fire, personal scandals, and royal separations all contributed to the general disapproval of the monarchy's handling of both external and domestic issues. The royal family was often believed to be disconnected from contemporary society, according to many, and that the old methods of gaining and keeping supporters had worn thin. Her candor in describing the year as annus horribilis showed that the Queen understood the gravity of the situation and was prepared to face it directly. Queen Elizabeth II had the challenging job of juggling the desire to modernize with the preservation of royal tradition during these debates. The fact that her rule lasted for decades shows how strong and flexible she was. Unfortunately, the monarchy underwent a transformation as a result of the traumatic events of the 1990s. Honesty, open dialogue, and making an emotional connection with the people were stressed. A shift in the royal family's public relations strategy saw them strategically engage with the media and strive to project an image that was more approachable and relevant. In order to keep the monarchy relevant and meet the demands of a new generation, this change was essential. The monarchy was able to overcome these challenges and continue playing an important role in British culture because the Queen was prepared to change while being faithful to her responsibilities. The Epstein affair involving Prince Andrew, the Meghan Markle situation, issues of race and the media, and the difficulties of modernization confronting the palace of Queen Elizabeth II. Constructing upon the difficulties and scandals that defined the reign of Queen Elizabeth II in the 1990s, the monarchy persisted in encountering considerable obstacles far into the 21st century. In the last several decades, the royal family has faced two major scandals, one involving Prince Andrew and another involving the larger concerns of race and modernization. In addition to putting the monarchy's credibility to the test, these events demonstrated how challenging it is to reconcile long-standing customs with modern expectations. The royal family's image took a major hit due to a scandal between Prince Andrew, the second son of the Queen, and the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Following the public disclosure of sexual misconduct allegations against Prince Andrew, which were extensively covered by the media, he was subject to severe criticism and scrutiny. Allegations ranged from minor infractions to major breaches of public trust, forcing the royal family to face some tough questions on responsibility and accountability. The scandal surrounding Prince Andrew's connections to the notoriously exploitative Epstein stunned the public and threw the monarchy into disarray. Prince Andrew's first public comments, which were generally considered as evasive and unpersuasive, only served to further confuse matters. The claims were mishandled during a prominent BBC interview, because critics and viewers thought the prince lacked the necessary clarity and contrition. The public's perception of him and the monarchy were both tarnished as a result of this. The reaction of Queen Elizabeth II to this controversy was seen as balanced and careful. Following royal protocol, the Queen proceeded with caution, valuing the stability of the institution more than the expeditious assessment of the public. Many in the public and media were dissatisfied with the government's cautious response since they had hoped for a stronger stance in response to the grave accusations. Dissatisfaction grew as a result of the monarchy's slow response to the issue, which sparked discussions about its openness and capacity to deal with contemporary scandals. As a whole, this scandal highlighted the royal family's struggles to meet modern expectations. Contemporary society expects more transparency, responsibility, and awareness of concerns like equality and justice, even though the monarchy is deeply ingrained in centuries of tradition. The incident involving Prince Andrew came to symbolize the gulf that the public saw between the royal family's traditional practices and their aspirations for modernization and change. In addition to dealing with the fallout from specific scandals, the monarchy had to face larger issues of race and modernity, which were especially problematic given the growing diversity of Britain's population. The royal family came under fire during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II for seemingly ignoring the multicultural reality of contemporary Britain. The institution's recent struggles to reconcile its historical character with contemporary societal norms have made this mismatch increasingly obvious. This discord was most visibly manifested in the wedding of Prince Harry, the granddaughter of the Queen, and Meghan Markle, an American actress of mixed-race descent. Many hailed their union as a positive step toward a more inclusive Britain and a modernization of the monarchy. Race, the media's portrayal of the royal family, and long-standing traditions were all brought to light, though. Their 2020 decision to resign from their official royal duties, commonly shortened to Megxit, heightened interest in the royal family's handling of racial tensions and media pressures. The difficulties Meghan Markle had were discussed frankly by her. Among other things, encounters with institutionalized racism and a dearth of institutional assistance. The emotional toll that constant media attention has on a family was also brought up by Prince Harry. Their exit from the royal family ignited heated discussions over the monarchy's adaptability and its capacity to tackle sensitive topics like mental health and race. The royal family's critics claimed that its members couldn't handle these contemporary challenges because of the family's traditional values and structures. But their supporters said the couple's story exposed systemic issues that the monarchy should address head-on. Queen Elizabeth II's financial transparency difficulties and colonial legacy controversies. Adding to the vast list of scandals and difficulties that the British monarchy has endured in the last several decades, financial transparency and the lasting effects of colonialism were two major topics of public discussion throughout Queen Elizabeth II's lengthy reign. These two interrelated problems further complicated the monarchy's changing relationship with the people and highlighted the continuous fight to balance inherited privileges and centuries-old traditions with the increasing need for responsibility, equity, and historical redress in a dynamic contemporary society. For a long time, the British monarchy has had a tense relationship with questions of financial openness and royal privilege. Public grants, private fortunes, and family inheritance all play a role in the royal family's financial situation. The public has often been confused and has been harshly criticized because of this intricacy. A lot of people have wondered if the royal family's huge fortune warrants all the special treatment they get and how much of the public's money goes toward maintaining the monarchy. These discussions heated up over time, pressuring the monarchy to answer demands for more clarity, as society shifted its emphasis to transparency, equity, and examination of public institutions. There were those who, throughout the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, wanted the royal family to be more transparent with their financial dealings, both within and outside of the UK. As part of this, there were calls for openness about the monarchy's finances, including how much money they brought in and where it went. Opponents contended that the monarchy's finances ought not to be concealed or exempt in this day and age when several public organizations and government agencies are subject to stringent requirements of fiscal responsibility. Some areas that frequently garnered public attention included the financing of royal palaces, such as Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, the costs of official travel and security, and the utilization of public funds for ceremonial events. The monarchy was seen by many as a symbol of entrenched privilege and a contributor to social injustice in Britain, and the opaqueness of these financial arrangements only served to cement this impression. Conversely, monarchy advocates have long highlighted the cultural and economic benefits that the UK and the world at large reap from the presence of the royal family. The vast philanthropic work funded or driven by members of the royal family, the promotion of British identity and heritage globally, and the tourist earnings produced by royal palaces and events are all examples of the substantial contributions made by the monarchy. Furthermore, proponents of the monarchy point out that a significant chunk of its wealth, including investments and land holdings, is privately owned and not dependent on public funds. This includes the Duchy of Cornwall and the Duchy of Lancaster. Regardless of these explanations, throughout Queen Elizabeth II's lengthy reign, the conflict between royal privilege and calls for public responsibility was a major and frequently unsolved issue. The complicated and frequently unpleasant legacies of British colonialism were closely tied to Queen Elizabeth's reign, in addition to worries over royal finances, due to her position as the symbolic head of the Commonwealth. Some 56 sovereign nations, including several former colonies of the British Empire, make up what is known as the Commonwealth. The Queen, as its head, personified a common past rife with alliances and rivalries, advancement and exploitation. The symbolic significance of her position brought to mind a past wherein several colonized peoples endured economic exploitation, political dominance, cultural oppression, and the extension of British culture and influence. Several countries that were once colonies of the United Kingdom have seen demonstrations, public discussions, and demands for reparations in response to the growing worldwide recognition of the historical injustices associated with colonialism. Colonialism brought to displacement, brutality, economic exploitation, and cultural erasure. Nonetheless, conventional wisdom has tended to exaggerate the British Empire's successes while ignoring or downplaying the atrocities committed during this time. As a lasting representation of that imperial past, the monarchy has been the target of increased criticism and investigation. Historians and activists are calling for a more transparent and all-encompassing examination of the past. Protests and discussions concerning the monarchy's colonial past have prompted important discussions about how we remember the past, who is responsible for what, and how wrongs of the past affect us now. Some feel the British royal family, and the institution it stands for, must be transparent and honest about their past dealings with this issue. They demand an official reckoning with the pain endured under colonial domination, backing of reparative efforts, and participation in reconciliation procedures. The symbolic role of the Queen in the Commonwealth is seen by many as including both a ceremonial duty and a moral obligation to spearhead and assist in this process of coming to terms with the past. However, monarchy advocates point to Queen Elizabeth II's decades-long campaigns for Commonwealth solidarity and collaboration. They highlight a plethora of programs that strive to promote growth, learning, cultural interchange, and mutual regard among member nations. Those in favor of the contemporary Commonwealth point out that, unlike its colonial ancestors, its members voluntarily joined together based on mutual respect and cooperation. Maintaining vital diplomatic, cultural, and economic links among many nations is facilitated, they say, by the monarchy's continuing involvement in this network. However, there is still no resolution to the delicate, complicated, and unfinished matter of the colonial legacy issue during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. It highlights the larger difficulties the monarchy has in navigating a complex and contradictory global history, maintaining a balance between respect for tradition and growing calls for fairness, justice, and recognition of past wrongs. In view of a world that is more aware than ever of historical injustices and present disparities, this matter emphasizes the challenges of maintaining the symbolic authority of the monarchy. Amber Kemp, a 67-year-old former maid at Buckingham Palace, provides rare glimpses into the personal life and unwavering resilience of Queen Elizabeth II. Former royal maid Amber Kemp, who worked for Queen Elizabeth II for almost 20 years, has spoken up about her one-of-a-kind experiences working in Buckingham Palace and her thoughts on the remarkable reign of the Queen. Her frank confessions allow readers an intimate look into the life of a modern historical icon. We learn about the inner workings of the royal household and Queen Elizabeth II character, details and moments that have been hidden from the public eye for decades, through her eyes. Amber started working for the British Royal in the early 1970s, when they were very traditional and the Queen's public persona was carefully controlled. Maintaining the royal residences, making sure everything was in perfect order, and silently supporting the monarch's everyday life were all critical but subtle duties of Amber's duty as a royal maid. Amber saw the Queen's commitment to her duties throughout that time, and gained an appreciation for the tremendous demands of that position. Amber recently interviewed the Queen, and she praised her for being a strong, modest, and disciplined woman who handled her enormous duties with poise and dignity. As far as Amber could tell, the Queen's dedication to her responsibilities never wavered. There was meticulous planning for every day, juggling government duties, family obligations, and public appearances. Amber commented that Her Majesty was always very well prepared. She kept her composure and never let her exhaustion or anxiety show, no matter how long or hard the day got. She possessed an air of subtle power that commanded devotion and admiration. This painstaking focus on detail extended beyond formal responsibilities. The Queen was highly conscious of her public persona, making sure that her conduct and attire befitted the majesty of her position as head of state. Despite the media's tendency to portray Queen Elizabeth II in a cold and distant light, Amber's reflections show a warmer and more human aspect of the monarch. While the Queen was away from the spotlight, Amber recalled times when she was really kind, friendly, and even humorous. According to Amber, her mischievous side and quick wit would come out when she was at ease. All of us fortunate enough to be there at those times will always remember them fondly. These glimpses serve as a reminder that a lady who could be funny and loving existed beneath the monarchy, traits that were frequently eclipsed by her responsibilities as a queen. Additionally, Amber was open and honest about the difficulties and emotional strains of being the sovereign. Hers was not an eminently ceremonial position. An unusual amount of self-control and selflessness was required. Under the constant pressure to preserve the monarchy's honor, It was common for individuals to repress their emotions, particularly during periods of marital strife and heavy public scrutiny. The queen bore an enormous burden, Amber remarked. Regardless of the challenges occurring behind the scenes, there remained an unwavering expectation that she should be flawless and maintain the monarchy's reputation. These remarks highlight the emotional toll that Queen Elizabeth took during the most troubled times in her reign as monarch. The queen was a rock of stability through it all, from the tragic loss of Princess Diana in 1997 to the Annus Horribilis of 1992, a year when many royal marriages fell apart and Windsor Castle burned to the ground. Even though the queen represented stability and power, Amber stressed that even she felt the emotional impact of what had happened. With poise and bravery, she carried out her duties. But those of us close to her knew how deeply she felt the pain, Kemp reflected. Kemp's decision to share her story after many years of silence carries significant weight. It provides an insider's perspective that humanizes the queen and moves beyond the often superficial coverage of royal life. This personal testimony invites the public to consider the woman behind the crown, recognizing her not only as a monarch, but as a person who endured immense pressures and challenges. Her account also honors the dedication of the countless unseen staff members whose loyalty and work support the monarchy behind the scenes. Her insights are especially valuable in an era when the monarchy faces increased scrutiny and calls for transparency. As the royal family grapples with scandals, public debates about privilege, and the need for modernization, Amber's reflections offer a reminder of the enduring human elements at the heart of the institution. She highlights that the Queen's reign was as much about personal sacrifice and resilience as it was about ceremonial duties and public symbolism. Throughout her service, Amber observed the Queen's evolving relationship with the British public. Over 7 decades, the monarchy had to adapt to significant social and cultural changes from post-war Britain through the digital age. Despite shifting attitudes and occasional controversies, the Queen maintained a steady presence, embodying a sense of national identity and continuity. Amber described the Queen as a figure who understood the importance of connecting with her subjects, even if such connections were often mediated through formal channels. Her Majesty was aware of her role not just as a sovereign, but as a servant to her people. Amber noted, Kemp's reflections also touch on the Queen's personal values, shaped by a deep sense of duty and faith. She spoke of the Queen's steadfastness and the comfort she found in tradition and ceremony, which grounded her in times of uncertainty. This foundation, she believes, was key to the Queen's ability to endure the many trials she faced. The Queen's faith and sense of purpose gave her strength, she added. She truly saw her role as a lifelong service. One particularly poignant aspect of Amber's testimony is her description of the Queen's relationship with those who worked closely alongside her. Despite the clear social hierarchy within the royal household, Amber recalled moments when the Queen showed appreciation and respect for her staff. These interactions, though often private and understated, revealed a monarch who valued loyalty and recognized the contributions of those who supported her daily life. Her Majesty never took us for granted, Amber explained. She understood that without the dedication of her staff, nothing would run smoothly. Amber's narrative also challenges some public perceptions about the strictness and formality of palace life. While protocols and rules governed much of the royal household's operations, there was room for humanity and genuine relationships within the palace walls. Life at Buckingham Palace was a unique blend of tradition and warmth, Amber said. We were part of something historic, but also something deeply personal.